easily the best analysis I've seen.
Dude, how are you
10
at
out
just
of 10
260
subs,
subs?
but
I
this
love
is
your
just
skins
video
for players like
this
this.
is
Is
a
a
very
very
well
well
This is
something that only hurt your
and I'm
pro
keeping an eye out
players.
for more
Content
to
say
here,
200
subs.
No
You
way.
gotta fix that.
Please,
Matchbox, you would be right.
I am confusion.
God,
DiggaJbare, I haven't seen your
complex
channel
software.
before.
There's
But
another
you got
season.
stuff.
Hopefully
Bro,
you
just
others
fine
I already
stuff.
said.
Definitely
Would
should
be
cover
covered.
it.
I didn't
Yo,
realize this was
shoot
season
it.
four.
Let's go.
Season two.
I begin.
Okay, here we go again. This is going to be fun.
Disclaimer. This video will assume you have watched the second Matchbox season, so if you have not watched it, please refrain from watching this video and look in the description. If you are wanting to watch the Weevies cover of the second season when it comes out first, please refrain from watching this video as the Weevies cover does not currently exist. Thank you for your time.
Well, the second season is different. Again, we have 7 players in this game, where we have a final 3 of Gecko, Dice, and Snake. Gecko is confirmed good due to the shenanigans in episode 2, where 2 different people claim to have been swapped to Gecko. Since the Spark can only swap with themselves, Gecko could not have been the one to swap. Gecko also claimed to be medic, so we don't have to worry about who the medic is, because why would the confirmed player lie in the final episode? So Spark is confirmed to be between Snake and Dice. And this time, there are no weird rule technicalities that I can pull out since no one was voted out like in Season 1. Well then, let's get into this. Like I said in the intro, this episode confirms our prospective player as a good player. Is Dice's claim of being swapped last minute a possibility? Yes. Looking at the footage, the Spark was with Gecko for at least 3 minutes, where the cooldown for a swap is 2 minutes. So Dice's story can hold true. There is this weird cutout of the player model when Gecko shot, which could have signified the swap. However, if we look back at Season 1, this was normal, so we don't have to worry. North claimed to be walking on the left side, where they claim to have seen nothing based on a different episode. We know that Rose was swapped to the maze at some point, but North probably missed this. Snake claimed to be on the right side, and Dice claimed to be in the library when he swapped. Snake and Dice claimed to have not seen each other, which is understandable because one of them has to be the Spark and lying. Unfortunately, our confirmed good players did not see anything to help in this episode, but here is something I would like you to remember for later. When Dice said they were in the library, they said they were admiring it. May not seem helpful now, but keep this in mind. Like last season, this episode has an interesting incident, but hardly any information came out to help find the Spark. Basically, a swap happened in front of Gecko, but both people claimed to be North. To put this together, we need to figure out which one was the real North. We can deduce that North was the second player for one reason. If North was swapped away from Gecko, what do you think he will do? He has been swapped away from the most confirmed player, so the Spark is with him now. He also still has his arrow. North would have started running to the maze, and since we know he knows the maze, he can get to them quickly. But this player here did not rush to them, but in fact stalked them. Take a listen to this clip. If you notice the footsteps in the background when both players were crouching, you would think that the sound would have then come from a mysterious player in the maze that we don't see. I certainly thought that originally, until I got one of my friends into the mystery where they noticed something unusual. In episode 2, yes, we are going back to it, footsteps can be heard again when both players are crouching. There isn't another player there since the footstep sounds are from leaves. So I did some digging and found that Well, it may be true that when you crouch in the game, your steps are muted. But what many people don't know is that when you are on a multiplayer server, you can still hear other players' footsteps even if they are crouching. But why did I show this clip? That means the footsteps we heard were all the second Norths, right? Well, not all of them. Take a listen again. Did you catch that? Let's replay with editing. It may be hard to tell what is going on if you are listening through a speaker, but if you are wearing headphones, you may notice that in that short clip, there was a step on the left and on the right. The second North is obviously the one on the left, but who is the one on the right? It has got to be this player, and multiple times we hear these double steps that don't match the second North steps. So this player was stalking them and could not be North. But is this player the Spark? What if it was Dice just exploring the maze? Firstly, no one claimed to be in the maze in the meeting, and since we know the second North is the real one, we can trust what he says. Immediately, he says, "Whoever you are with was the Spark." This in itself gives information. If North met someone recently before the swap where they chatted, after the swap, North would realize that the person he chatted with was not the Spark. He chats to Gecko and then he would learn who the Spark is because from his perspective it is either Snake or Dice. This did not happen though, meaning that the only person he came into contact with other than Gecko was the Spark, aka this player. But Gecko is the medic. Why did Gecko not protect North? Simple. He probably protected the first North instead. The rules to the medic do not say whether they can change who they are protecting, so that means Gecko could not protect the real North. We do learn where both Snake and Dice claim to be, however, this does not help because Gecko saw nothing, and North did not say anything about seeing anyone. From Gecko's perspective, one is lying and one is telling the truth, and no distinction can be made. One note to be made though. The Spark had their arrow still, and shot at Gecko. This may seem like nothing for now, but keep this in the back of your mind. In this episode, Rose met up with everyone, so it won't be possible to figure out who the Spark is. It is entirely possible for both Dice and Snake to mark Rose before the meeting with Gecko. However, there are 3 things that I wanted to note. 1. The Spark knew about the hiding spot and immediately walked up to it. This means the Spark was probably in the throne room in either episode 1 or 2 to discover the spot. However, due to lack of pathing, it is possible for both Snake and Dice to have been in the throne room at some point in both episodes 1 and 2. Also, it is possible for the Spark to see Gecko through the upside down staircase in the throne room. Number 2. The maze is the exact same as Season 1. If you look at the footage of North guiding the group through the maze and compare it to Season 1 Episode 4, where Oak tries to escape the same maze, both paths to get in and out of the maze are identical. This made me question whether the players in Season 2 saw the Season 1 episodes before the game started. This is important because players could learn the maze early and not have to spend time on studying it in the game, making swaps and passage through the maze easier. I do not believe this to be the case because we probably would have had a reference to Season 1, such as the names of the Season 1 participants or moments in the season. The only glimpse we have is Knife saying they had already played the game, which does not confirm our suspicion. And finally, number 3. How on earth does North know about what happened in episode 1? North explains that in episodes 1 and 2, he only met with Rose in the first round and then kept exploring the maze. Yet, he drops a bombshell and said, "Last I remember, you spent the entire second half of the round with him." him knowing this makes no sense because Gecko said nothing in the first round and hardly any information came out. And the second round was only focused on the possible double swap in front of Gecko. This means he would have had to deduce this fact. My guess is that North noticed Gecko's silence in the first round. He just assumed he was the person in the pair Rose saw. I cannot figure this out, but let me know your suggestions because I do not believe getting this absolutely correct will help with finding the spark.
This episode holds a lot of mystery since we see many players, but locations were not claimed. Let's start from the beginning. Gecko first enters the library seeing 3 people. These people are Knife, Snake, and Ears. We know this when reading the signs as it depicts an incident with an arrow, where a similar argument happened during the meeting. Knife goes to the museum since we see he placed a sign to Gecko's left, and the left signs seem to be written by Knife due to all the lowercasing and a lack of punctuation. This means Snake went to the cave room and Ears went to chat with Gecko. Many people have speculated that this player was actually lying about who they were, since Ears was killed and Gecko did not protect them. This theory does not work for a couple of reasons. From Gecko's perspective, if they protected this player who claimed to be Ears and Ears died, Gecko will know they were lying and probably out the information at some point. You can say Gecko would not say it on the first round since revealing you are the medic this early would be dangerous, but why would he not out it later? In episode 3, he got a reminder, so after he was confirmed due to Dice and Snake pointing out issues, you could probably say, okay, I was with a person claiming to be Ears, but I don't think it was Ears. Again, you can say he would not like to hint at being the medic, but he can still out it in future rounds. In fact, he would have asked who was in the library in the first round to get confirmation on who was there. But why did Gecko not protect Ears? Well, why did Gecko not protect North in episode 5? It's the same reason. He could have protected Snake here. He could have protected this player in the greenhouse. We don't know, but I think the medic or the spark can only choose one person and will not be able to change their pick. Hence, he did not change his pick onto Ears. We see a person in the museum admiring the dinosaur. I believe this player is Dice, because you remember what I said for episode 2? Dice admired the library, and Dice probably admired other things as well, such as this dinosaur. We see Rose in the cave room here, based on claims from the meeting, and we see this player hiding behind the center in the museum, spying on people. How long was this player here? Since we saw Dice admiring the dino, this is because in this screenshot here, if you zoom in here, we see the blue pixels of a Steve shirt. This player is likely to be Knife, but it is possible for it to be Snake who looped around during Ears' conversation. We then see this player exiting the maze through the greenhouse. Many people say this is North, since he was exploring the maze, but actually this isn't North. In episode 3, he said in the first 2 rounds he only saw Rose in the first round. If this player was North, he would have surely remembered this pair. This means one of our mysterious players made it through the maze, hence this player could be anyone, probably Dice or Snake. We already covered Rose's and North's location, but no one else claims their location. We know Snake could have selected Ears at the start, and Dice could have selected Ears if it was at the end of the round after Ears left Gecko, or Dice met Ears before the arrow incident meeting. But actually, let's talk about this incident. It seems that according to Knife, a shot was fired. Hence, why are we wasting our arrows? The conversation in the meeting seems to indicate that Snake was the one that fired the shot, since he said, "Let me spell it out for you, because I don't think you understand. If I shoot you and you are lying about who you are, we win on the spot." This may seem straightforward, but there are multiple issues, many of them linked to episode 4, which we'll cover later. But let me ask you this question now. If Knife was shot with an arrow, why did Gecko not see a name tag when he entered the library? We know from last season that the arrow effect lasts the entire game, so either an arrow was wasted by missing the shot, or the name effect in this season now only lasts a certain amount of time. We could probably rule out the time aspect, since this probably would have been mentioned when Knife was explaining the rules on the crossbow, so a shot was likely missed. Oh boy, this is a big and confusing episode with a lot of contradictions. But let me break it down for you. We first see a player entering the library, which could have either been Rose or Snake. This is because Rose was found hidden in the library, and Snake claimed to start in the disco room to move to the library and hide in the cave room ready to shoot someone, but they saw no one. We then meet the Spark in the throne room, where we see one person going from the end to the museum, which would have to be either Dice or Rose again. This is because Dice claimed to start in the greenhouse. Yes, he did claim he explored the maze, but it is possible that he passed by the throne room and looped back. Rose could have passed the throne room and went to the library to hide. We then meet Rose in the library, where we pass the cave into the maze for the Spark's plan to come to fruition. North claimed to start in the cave and went to the jungle, probably through the kitchen area due to this first player, but it was not made clear. North was swapped to the greenhouse, where he came back to the jungle and found no one. Gecko was swapped to the jungle, but since this area is big and filled with trees, it would have been hard to spot Gecko from North's perspective. Now, why does this video in particular have so many contradictions? Firstly, there are two issues with Snake's statement. He said he was in the cave room ready to shoot someone, but saw no one. But according to the first video, Snake seemed to have shot at Knife, which means he would not have had an arrow to shoot at someone in the cave. I say seemed though, because if Snake was good, why would he lie? And if Snake was evil, how would he have shot at Gecko in episode 5? Also, in episode 6, which I'm not covering as that episode is pretty self-explanatory, the good player had their arrow, so if Snake was good there, he would have had his arrow. So what happened in episode 1? Snake did not shoot his crossbow, so did Ears shoot his crossbow? But if so, why? We know a shot was fired because wouldn't have Knife said, why would we waste our arrows instead of why are we wasting our arrow? Surely he wouldn't have made that mistake, right? Well, if you look at Knife's way of speaking, he does misphrase things a lot, and the other signs could be interpreted as a discussion on whether the arrow should be fired instead of an argument on why an arrow was fired. The next contradiction in Snake's alibi is that he said he saw no one, but we see Gecko and Rose pass by and we don't see Snake. Pretty suspicious if you ask me. However, there are a couple of issues. We do not see this corner here, so we cannot comfortably say that Snake was not there for sure. As for why he did not see anyone, I don't know. It's a contradiction that makes no sense. You can say Snake came into the cave after Gecko and Rose, but that would mean he would have spent 13 out of the 17 minutes of the game in the disco room, which is unlikely. But the issue that I have with immediately saying that Snake is the Spark due to this contradiction is that Dice also has a contradiction in his story. He also claimed to see no one that round, but if Gecko was talking to Snake here, that would mean that the player we saw during the conversation was Dice, who would have seen the talk. This is because in the world where Snake is the Spark, Rose is the player who entered the library. So if you say she was also the player to see the conversation, she would have to loop around the map. This is a possible world, but we know that Rose thought the Spark would target her, hence she was hiding. This means she would have not run around the map in case she met with the Spark. You can say if she was looking for a better hiding spot, but she would have passed the maze, which has the best hiding spots, so why not stay there instead of going to the library? So if Snake was the Spark, This is Dice, who would have seen 2 people in the throne room, but he says he saw no one. Surely he would have said something, especially if he saw 2 people in the throne room after Gecko claimed to hide there. Here we have a scenario where one of our suspects is the Spark, and one has crippling dementia since there's no real reason to lie about your location in this scenario. One theory I found was that the Spark would have made a deal with other people and probably made a deal with the other suspect, hence the lie. But this does not work because Gecko would have been voted out in episode 5. Across the comments on YouTube for the Matchbox videos, the most popular opinion is that Snake is the Spark due to one fact. In episode 1, we see the conversation of the arrow incident, but on one of the signs that were left there, Snake used an emoji. In the conversation between the Spark and Gecko, the Spark not only uses an emoji, but also leaves their signs behind for Gecko to break. Due to this similarity, many people believe that Snake is the Spark. However, this is not the best evidence due to one question. Have we actually seen Dice type on a sign? We do see Dice in episode 2, but by the time we knew it was him, he did not write on a sign. The other times we chatted with someone named Dice, they also claimed to be the Spark, so we cannot count that. My point here is that we never for sure see Dice writing on a sign, so it is possible that Dice has a similar way of writing their messages compared to Snake. They might also use emojis and leave their signs, we don't know. You can also say that Dice visited the library and saw Snake's way of writing on the signs in episode 1, since Rose said they saw multiple people walk through the cave. However, it should be noted that no evidence actually helps with this possibility. It is just something to keep in mind. So, what is my theory? Well, I did have a theory, but it was ruined in the first few seconds of the 6th episode airing. The theory that I had come up with before was that every player spawns alone, so we can figure out what Rose's movement could have been. I had found in my theory that it would have to be Snake, but only if the players would have not been able to spawn in the museum, jungle, or the maze. However, in the 6th episode, it showed that it was possible to spawn in the maze, so it was also possible for Dice to kill Rose. Currently, I am not able to come up with a theory as strong as the one I made for Venus in the first season. I cannot come up with a way to solve one of these major contradictions. If you say Snake is bad due to the sign thing, and that he didn't see anyone in the cave, you can just as easily say that Dice could have a similar writing style, and why did Dice not claim to see the talk in the throne room? If you say Dice is bad, you can say the vice versa of the previous point. I think we can possibly solve the season if we solve this contradiction and find a reason with evidence on why the good player would say they saw no one. Currently, my feeling is that Snake is more likely to be the Spark, only because I feel like Dice would be more likely to forget who he saw, because we do see how oblivious he was in episode 1, and how he says he has seen no one for many rounds. But you can also say, since he thinks he saw no one for multiple rounds, he would have noticed the throne room players, since that would have been a rare moment for him to see players. Also, there is the sign situation that links Snake where it can be explained away, but there is no for sure evidence of Dice having a similar sign writing style to Snake. In the meetings, Snake and Dice actually have similar writing styles with capitalized letters, and both use exclamation marks and question marks but avoid full stops. The only difference seems to be the emotion with Dice, typing very flamboyant messages at the start and getting more desperate towards the end of the game. And Snake seems a bit more quiet, only giving seemingly important information and coming off a bit condescending, in my opinion. This does not help us, however, because emotion through text can be faked through the signs, and I was getting both emotions through the chat with the Spark. Either way, I think this can be for sure solved if we solve what happens in episode 4, since episodes 2, 3, 5, 6 are self-explanatory, and episode 1 just does not have enough information to make a good solution. I think to solve the mystery for certain, we have to solve the contradiction in episode 4, which I will admit, I am struggling with it, but this is why I am bringing this to your guys' attention, to help solve this mystery together. Before I finish this video,
I wanted to mention something a fellow commenter had told me. It was about the channel. Bring this up because it seems to have a connection with the Matchbox trees showing that bug. People have asked about the authenticity of this evidence, so I wanted to bring it to your attention to help figure this out. I was thinking about it, but I'm soon going to be busy and will not have time to make a video.
thank you guys so much for the support on the first season. So if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and comment your theories down below. Thank you for watching.